happy anniversary, 100 years. It's a great pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to present the Snorri programs. And we will go through the history and start with Almar Grímsson, one of the creator or founder of the Snorri program. Then I will give you some overview over the program today, and after that I will present Sandra, the Syriza Acting Project coordinator this year, and after that Georgia Jones, Snorri West coordinator, will tell us about the Snorri West program, and in the end we have Benjamin Boxell, Snorri 2018, and he will tell us about his experience from participating in Snorri program. So let's start, and thank you. How many you are? Almar.
So, kære vinir, dear friends, it's a real honor, pleasure for me to be here. I don't know what the number of occasions have been at Diana conventions before, but it's probably 15 or so, or more. And the reason I got involved in the Snorri program is that in 1997 I was on the staff, or rather on the board of the Nordic Association in Iceland. I was the vice president of the organization, and I happened to be at the right moment, at the right place, to hear a young man, friend of mine, speak about his idea that there could be created a program for young people of Icelandic descent in North America in a similar way that the program in the Nordic countries that we conducted. So I was privileged to be there, and I had the opportunity then to continue further, and at the same time as this was happening in the Nordic Federal Association, the Icelandic National League, which had been dormant for some years, it was revitalized, and so the wave started there, and I got involved in INL Iceland. And so I call the 1997, it was the birth year of the Snorri program. So what we did then in the beginning was to go to persons whom we admired and trusted and asked them whether this was a feasible and good idea with that. So we in the preparatory group, I would say, we called on Madame Vigdís Finnbogadóttir, who had just retired then as President of Iceland, and we called on Haraldur Bessason, who was professor in Iceland of the Icelandic chair in the University of Manitoba, but he had come back to Iceland to be Dean of the University of Akureyri. And we asked them for their advice, and the advisory group didn't take long. They said, this is something we have to do. And then we started looking at the name, and Madame Vigdís said that it would be ideal to call it the AMMA program, in honor of the immigrants, and which was a very good idea, but we ended up calling it the Snorri program in the name of Snorri Thorfinnsson, the first European child born in North America. So in the beginning, myself and Steinn Björnsson, who was president of the INL of Iceland, we were sort of co-chairs to get this going. And there was an agreement signed in the following year, in 1999, and then everything started to roll because the Millennium Commission of Iceland, which was preparing for Millennium activities in North America, they decided to give funds to start the program. And the first group indeed arrived, and there were 19, and that is the largest group so far. We were so happy to get this many applications, and we welcomed them all. We didn't go through any selection, and I'm very happy and proud of that. So 2000 came, and we knew that we had to get more funding, and we had gone to Decode Genetics, which then was an emerging, big, important company in Iceland, and Kári Stefánsson, the CEO, he was very helpful and gave financial support, which actually was enough for us for both 2000 and 2001. So we went ahead, and Ásta Sól Kristjánsdóttir was recruited. She is here. I just want to say that Ásta Sól, when we recruited her, she had very obvious good background and excellent qualifications for taking on this important role. And during her 19 years of service, which just recently ended, but she's still here with us, she demonstrated a unique understanding of the program's goals and was dedicated to making the participants feel the significance of exploring the roots and in the land of their ancestors. So I'm very grateful for Ásta for having been so instrumental in making this program happen. And she actually took part in the 2001 events when Tricia Signy McKay, who was a Snorri participant in 2001, sadly passed away last year, and we miss her very much, but she is the first Snorri to go, and she went away from us far too early, but she volunteered as a president of the Alumni Association, and Ásta was very helpful in creating that association. And we foresaw a difficulty in fundraising, so we went to the parliament and the government and said, well, this is a program we have to continue. Are you willing to secure its future? And it happened in that way. And the same year, 2001, many things happened. Snorri West was established here in Manitoba. It was by initiative of a few volunteers here in Manitoba, like Erik Stefánsson and Ernest Stefánsson and others. And our friend Wanda Andersson was the leader and project manager of that program for 10 years to come. Wanda is here. So in the fourth year, we continued the program and secured the fund, as I said, and the Snorri Program, which was like an organization by agreement, was then formally incorporated as a non-profit organization in 2002, and the first board was appointed, and we appointed then three local persons, and then Tricia for the alumni, and Harley Jónasson for the community here who were members in the committee. And what happened also in 2002 was that Ásta Sól and I, we were representatives at the INL convention in Minneapolis, and many people had asked us whether we could expand the program, because there were people who were older than 26 or 28 who said, what are you going to do for us? So we announced that the annual general meeting in Minneapolis that Snorri Program was on its way. And the audience rose, gave a standing ovation. And Snorri Program has indeed proved its existence. So we established it in 2003, and then there were 8 people who came as pioneers in that program. And this year also, I think it's important to note that both Sean Bryant, who was in 2000, and this year, they took up studies in University of Iceland, and many other scholars have followed later. So that year also, which was in fact the end of the first 5 years, which are very dear to me, and it's good to remember how this came about. It ended with that I introduced the program at a big consular conference in Washington, D.C., and was very much welcomed by all involved. So that was the beginning of Snorri, birth and first 5 years. Thank you.
It's no doubt that the Snorri programs are the most important project of INL Iceland. And it was, and it is still. The 3 main pillars of running the Snorri programs. Firstly, financial contribution from numerous sponsors. Secondly, voluntary work of the board members of the Snorri Foundation and other dedicated volunteers. And thirdly, motivated and dedicated program manager. All of these pillars are very important, and they all have to work. The financial supporters of the Snorri program is our Ministry of Education, Science and Culture, Icelandair, Icelandic Roots, the Guttormsson Family Foundation, Canada-Iceland Foundation, several Icelandic clubs in Canada and US, and several companies in Iceland. And I will thank all our supporters for their important support over the years. Without them, we didn't have any Snorri program. Snorri program. Yes, it gives young people of Icelandic descent living in North America an opportunity to participate in a 6 weeks adventure and discover their Icelandic roots. That's the main theme. And just for statistic, since it started in 1999, total 303 participants have been in the program. That means 14.4 participants on average a year. As Almar said, the maximum was 19 participants in 1999, and the minimum 11 in 2011. So it differs from year to year. But it's important right to know that almost 75% of all participants came from Canada and 25% from US. That's important fact, and I hope that in the future we will minimize the difference between. The Snorri Plus started in 2003 as a strong a result of strong request from people in the US and Canada who did not qualify with the age requirement, but strongly felt that they need a similar opportunity to strengthen their bonds with Iceland and their heritage. And the real and the fact is that since 2001, 2003, total there's been 217 participants during these 17 years, 12.8 participants on average a year. The maximum group 20 in 2013, and the minimum 6 participants this year. And the fact is 86% from Canada, only 14% from US. The next program is Snorri Alumni Internship. That program gives 2 former participants in the Snorri programs, one from US and one from Canada, to come for an internship in Iceland from early June to end of August. And after a week of briefing in Reykjavik, they spent 2 months as the interns and the volunteers at the Immigration Center in Hofsós. And finally, they spent a week in Reykjavik before heading back home. This program was founded in 2015 with an initiative from Stuart Wheeler. He was then ambassador in Iceland, the Canadian ambassador in Iceland. And the organizer of the program is Snorri Foundation, INR Iceland, Immigration Center at Hofsós, Canadian Embassy in Iceland, and US Embassy in Iceland. And now we have a total 10 participants in this program. And the last but not least program is Snorri Dev. That program started in 2018 as a trial project. The pioneers of the program were Bryndís Sigurjónsdóttir in Iceland and Sunna Pam Förstenau. You know her, Sunna Pam. And their enthusiasm make this program capable, and it's so that 2 deaf individuals from Iceland visit North America for a week every other year. The year between, 2 deaf individuals from North America visit Iceland. The same basic concept in this program as in the Snorri programs, but the participants needed an interpreter to assist in communications. And last year, 2 ladies, deaf ladies, visit North America. And this year, we have people from North America visiting Iceland in August, and we have here in the local one of the participants in this year, and stand up Sylvia Sigurðsson. Sylvia Sigurðsson is sister of Raymond Sigurðsson. Raymond, stand up. So. And we hope that this program, Snorri Dev, will be one of the permanent programs programs in the Snorri family. The situation today, the Snorri Program and the Snorri Plus have been running more or less unchanged from the beginning. The Snorri Foundation financial situation has deteriorated last 2 years, so the cost of running these programs is too high. Temporarily, we have succeeded in decreasing the cost without diminishing the quality of the program. But, however, we need to secure the program to the future. And what about the future perspective? We will, and that's very important, we will give as many people as possible an opportunity to meet their Icelandic relatives and experience Icelandic culture and nature. That's the main goal of the project. Therefore, we need to reorganize the Snorri Program and the Snorri Plus with less cost, but maintain high quality. And how can we do that? And just for consideration, maybe we have to shorten the period of the Snorri Program. 1 week in Reykjavik instead of 2. 10 days with the relatives instead of 3 weeks. The fact is, many young people that wish to take part in the program, they say, sorry, it's too long period. We can't spend the whole 6 weeks of our time. We also from the families in Iceland, it's amazing for all these years how many families in Iceland have given us that opportunity to host young relatives for 3 weeks in the high season in summer. We have a short summer season, and that's a great offer for families to host people. Some often so that they haven't seen these people before. But this is important, and it will become more easy to get host families if we shorten the period. And that's the one question we raise. But it's important to maintain a week trip together around Iceland, because then the participants learn to know each other and tied their relatives, their bonds, and have contacts in the future. We are also raising questions about the Snorri Plus. We have to reorganize it. Maybe we had to run it every other year, maybe fewer days. Now it's between 14 and 16 days. Maybe less recreation cost for all the changes. This is all questions we will discuss this year and take advance to the opinion from everybody we ask and discuss with. and after that we decide the future perspective. So this is a brief overview, and now I will present Sandra Björg Ernudóttir. Sandra is acting coordinator of the Snorri Programs, and she will present herself and the programs.
My name is Sandra, like Haldur just said, and I am currently the project manager of the Snorri Programs. I want to take you on a little journey and tell you a little story at the same time how I am standing here in front of you. One grey, rainy morning, I sat down at my computer and I was wandering through my emails. Then I saw an email with the subject, "Do you want to experience the best summer of your life?" Usually I just delete these emails, but something struck me. This email was from our former project manager, Ásta Sól, in 2017. She was looking for participants to participate in the Snorri Program, and I decided to apply. Few months later, I found myself having the best summer of lifetime in Alberta, Utah, and Saskatchewan. I met so many wonderful people over there, and I made friends for a lifetime. I also got the chance to connect with my aunt that lives there, and I didn't even know that she existed. But thanks to Sunnapan and Icelandic roots, I know her and we are pretty good friends today. I got fascinated by the story of Western Icelanders, and when I got back from my 4-week stay in North America to do my Snorri, I had to find my bachelor thesis for my bachelor degree in folkloristics. I was very inspired by the summer, and I decided that I wanted to see how young Icelandic Canadians from Alberta shape their identity and how the Snorri Program plays a big role in that. I went back 3 months later in October for 10 days to take the interview for my thesis, and I just felt like I was home again. I basically always felt like I was home while staying over here. Both during my Snorri experience, the 10-day trip to Alberta for my thesis, and during this convention. I wanted to use the chance to thank you all for the great hospitality I have experienced over here. I'm currently working on my master's studies in cultural communication, learning how to make documentaries, podcasts, exhibition, write articles, and so on. I have no idea what I want to do for my final project, except I know I want to make a documentary. I don't know about what, but I guess it will have something to do with my interest in Western Icelanders. When Haldur asked me earlier this year if I wanted to be in charge of the program this summer, I couldn't say no. I was fascinated by the program, and I really wanted to help out with them. I'm also very happy to have the opportunities to stand here in front of all of these beautiful Icelandic faces, because together we hold the Snorri Program alive. Talking about the Snorri Program, and this summer we have 14 participants in the Snorri Program, 4 from the United States and 10 from Canada. They'll be staying in Iceland for 6 weeks, from 16th of June to the 26th of July. I'm working hard these days to make this day the best I possibly can, and I can't wait to welcome all of them in the airport on the 16th of June. We have 6 participants in the Snorri Plus. They're all from Canada. They will be staying in Iceland from the 21st of August to the 6th of September. And yeah, I can't wait to meet all of them as well. Thank you all for helping out with the programs. Without you, it wouldn't be possible. And yeah, thank you all for listening.
Then we have Benjamin Boxell, Snorri 2018.
Så Ben heter jeg var Snorri-verkantene 2018 og from here in Winnipeg. My name is Benny. I'm from Winnipeg and I was on the Snorri Program last year. So, looking around this room, we all probably have Icelandic heritage. Like, raise your hand if you have Icelandic heritage. Okay, so I'm sure we all also have a good sense of what that means to all of us, right? So I didn't have a very culturally Icelandic family growing up, so I didn't up until about last summer. So I heard about the Snorri Program and I'm like, yeah, I am Icelandic. I don't know what that means. I have no idea. So I was looking at it and I must have read the briefing about 500 times, ooh, what kind of trip is this? And I still had no idea what to expect. But I'm like, yeah, okay. Somehow my boss gave me 6 weeks off, and I guess I'm going to Iceland. I'm going to figure this out and meet my long lost family. And so got off the plane, 30 hours awake, really tired. Look out the window. Oh wow, I am no longer tired. I'm in Iceland, and there's moss everywhere. It's raining. This is perfect. But I like rain because I'm crazy. So the Snorri Program, it might have varied a little bit year to year, but in my year it was 2 weeks taking classes in Icelandic language and culture at Háskóli Íslands, and then we went to our homestays, and then we did a huge bus trip around the west part of the island, and all together it was it's like, how am I going to fit all of this in 6 weeks? I don't even really speak Icelandic. And so on my way there, I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn as much Icelandic as I can. And it turns out I got off the plane and couldn't really speak Icelandic. So in Reykjavik, it was very interesting to attend classes with Siri, one of my new favorite teachers in the world, taught us Icelandic. And we took a ton of lectures and other classes about the history and everything from an Icelandic perspective at the university. And so we do that in the morning, and then we would, after class, immediately go to the pool because, of course, that's Iceland. There's these pools everywhere. So we did that about an average of once a day over 6 weeks, which I hope I set the record for most trips to the pool on a Snorri Program ever. That's my goal. That was my goal. And so, we basically decided that we were going to try to be as local as possible as well in Reykjavik. So we would speak broken Icelandic to each other. And I think we all pledged that we would never eat a hot dog or go to a pool outside of Iceland again. Still haven't. Well, I went to the one here. It's actually pretty okay. It's a cool pool though. So we also learned about where our families came from when they were in Iceland before they left and where they moved to, and we figured out how we were all related to each other, which was really fun. And just crazy how far back it goes. If you've looked at Íslendinga book or Icelandic roots, it's crazy deep database. So I could see oh, these are my 4th, 5th, 6th cousins here in Iceland. And I guess I've never seen them before, but we're related. That's cool. So my family was from Reykjavik to Borgarfirði, which is in the west, right by where Snorri Sturluson would have written the sagas a long time ago. And so I got on a bus, and I had, again, no idea what to expect. I love going into things with no expectations. It just makes everything more magical and everything. So I got there. I was, again, really tired because we had such a busy, crazy, awesome 2 weeks. I get there, my bus was at 6 in the morning or something too. So meet my family, and immediately they push coffee in my face and we're definitely related. Perfect. So my family has a farm right near where our common ancestors were farming, called Ásgarður, and I was able to farm sheep with them and cows and bale some hay for 3 weeks there. I know how to farm sheep, but only in Icelandic. I know what opna hlið means, open the gate. Usually said a little bit more urgent than that too. not as urgent as Lokaslid. Benny, Lokaslid! Close the gate. So, I like to think that I was a pretty good sheep farmer. 90% sure that that is not true. So, I got to really know my family in these 3 weeks, and since coming back, I've actually been back to see them. Last time I was there in November, I got to go in and have dinner with them again on their farm. So it was crazy to build that bond, form that connection which my family had lost a little bit after I was born, which is actually a remarkably long time for families to stay in contact after immigration. And then we got back to Reykjavik and just went on a bus trip, and it was just this jam-packed, crazy, awesome, full of as much hiking and going to pools and eating hot dogs at the gas stations as we possibly could. You may notice pools and hot dogs, well, not the highlight of my trip per se, definitely something that I would not have wanted to go without in Iceland. So yeah, we went on the trip and we made, I think the hardest thing, other than waking up for the plane to go to Iceland, the hardest thing was actually getting on the plane at the end of the trip. You could feel all of these strong, crazy bonds pushed together. All the stories are nodding right now. Just these strong, crazy relationships that you formed with all of these people that you never knew existed before in Iceland, which is, really far isolated in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It's oh, okay, so now I have to go back, and now, so. Yeah, that was the hardest thing I probably would have ever done is leave Iceland. I considered not getting on the plane, but it would have been a long day to work. So definitely would also like to thank everyone who made it possible to do the trip. Snorri Program, everyone involved, Icelandic Roots, the Icelandic Canadian Throne, everyone who just put crazy amounts of time into this. I honestly don't think I was to slept a single hour while we were there, which is crazy. So thank you for not sleeping so we could. And yeah, that's my Snorri experience. Thank you. Tack för det.
I'm Jody. I'm the director of the Snorri West program, which, like its sister programs, Snorri and Snorri Plus, but the difference here is that it's organized and operated by the Icelandic National League of North America, with support from the program manager in Iceland. It's a program for Icelanders, just like Ben, 18 to 28, who want to come to North America. Our program is only 4 weeks long. It's an all-volunteer program with the exception of the project manager in Iceland. And participants do pay a fee, as do other Snorri programs. But those funds are supplemented by the INLA Reserve Fund, and by about half of the expenses come from the host clubs, and those are provided by very generous and hardworking local coordinators and clubs. And kudos to each and every one of those locations. The program would not be possible without the many volunteers, hosts, and donors. The program has been in existence, as you already heard, from 2001, and I'd like to recognize Wanda Anderson. If she's not in this room, you will find her. Is she here? I was going to say, otherwise, to be found by the Icelandic River Coffee. If you need some coffee, she's often to be found there. She ran the program from its beginning to about 2010, but it was a strictly in Manitoba program at that time. Gail Anderson McCleary, also here. from 2012. She recruited me in 2015 to help, and shortly thereafter I found myself in charge. And then I'd also like to recognize Åsta Kristjansdottir, who was our project manager from the inception of the Snorri West program until this year when the lovely Sandra has taken over. So Åsta is here as well. And we've had approximately 100 people come through in the last 18 years. We have changed things a little bit from that first 10 years where it was strictly a Manitoba experience. We now divided the continent into 4 different corridors, is what we call them. We have the East Coast, we have the Central, the Midwest, and the Pacific Coast. Last summer, 2018, we had 3 gentlemen and 1 young woman who joined the Snorri participants, the people from North America that came to Iceland. They had a variety of joint activities before the Snorri West people left for North America. And we've tried the last couple of years to really have those gatherings because I think we've really built some wonderful bonds. I can remember watching Ben at our graduation ceremony that I'll talk about in a second. And he and a couple of other Snorris were busily working on their phones, looking at the Icelandic Roots database. How are we related? Where are we from? How can we get together again? And making these wonderful connections that we need to maintain these wonderful abilities that we have to be together. From there, this is Washington, D.C., their arrival. They went on to Toronto, and this is Niagara Falls. They were there for a week before moving on to several days in Ottawa. It was a very warm days. It was here that they celebrated Canada Day on one of the very hottest, I think, that some of the Icelanders had ever experienced. This is one of my most favorite pictures from this year. One of the unique areas of the East Coast is that they go to Lansomedo, which many of you may know is thought to be similar to Vinland, or perhaps one of the sites where Leif Erikson and his crew began. And here they had the opportunity to play Viking. Last stop was Nova Scotia, and here they're exploring the Icelandic settlements and having a wonderful picnic. Compliments of, in this case, it's Glenda Burrows. Moving on then, once the Snorri West group last summer returned to Iceland, they again reconnected with the Snorris. We had a wonderful evening where we went to visit with President Guðni at Bessastaðir. We then had dinner and graduation ceremony together and finished up the evening with a trip to the Blue Lagoon, and then tried to roll the Snorris onto the plane for North America the next day. This year we're proud and very pleased to present to you the 4 people who will be joining the 2019 Snorri West, which is in the Pacific Coast. So they'll be visiting these areas, primarily, they'll fly into Vancouver. They will then go on to Lane where they'll celebrate 4th of July, including being part of the parade there. They'll visit Point Roberts, Nanaimo, Victoria, and end up in Seattle, where they will fly home. Just a reminder that we've already started planning for Snorri West 2020. I've sent out a reminder message to many of you here in Manitoba. If you got that message, I'm hoping you will search me out and say, yes, I got that message, and yes, we're interested, and we're willing to participate in the summer of 2020. And while I wanted to say thank you to Sandra, who has taken over in a magnificent fashion. She has jumped in and done incredible work in a very short period of time. I'd also like to recognize Åsta Sol as she's leaving us for hopefully better and wonderful things. But just a reminder that she dedicated her entire adult life to building bridges between Iceland and North America. After discovering her own roots in Canada, she became the project manager of the newly created Snorri Program, as you've already heard. And she was only about 24 years old at that time, pretty young. done these amazing things. Over the next 19 years, she shaped the Snorri and Snorri Plus programs into what they are today, welcoming more than 500 North Americans of Icelandic descent to Iceland and bringing them the same sense of discovery and homecoming that she experienced in Canada. Through her work with the Snorri programs, Ásta has kindled a passion for Iceland in so many participants, many of whom, as you heard Ben say, have returned home completely changed, and as a result are much more willing to get deeply involved in their local Icelandic communities here in North America. Many participants would agree that Ásta is the center of their Snorri experience, and it is this ability to bridge cultures and build lasting personal connections that has always been at the heart of her work. Ásta, you will be greatly missed, but we always remember. But we will always remember your invaluable contributions to the Icelandic communities on both sides of the Atlantic. Ásta, best wishes in all future endeavors.
Thank you all. All in all, we have 600 Snorris. And how many are in this locale? Raise your up. Stand up. I suggest that it's between 40, 50 people. Great.